Well, the Louisiana Attorney General is suing the Department of Homeland Security and its leader, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, because she says that an illegal entry into the United States by a Chinese national who has a rare, aggressive, and drug-resistant form of tuberculosis, which carries high mortality rates, was let into the country, and ICE doesn't want to do anything about it. And in fact, she says, this is AG Liz Murrell, says that this person has come into contact with hundreds of detainees, other illegal migrants, and other non-detainees, and has put the health and safety of Louisiana and the American people at risk. Now, what she wants is for ICE to not release the people who have been in contact with this individual until they are first checked out by a doctor and cleared, and ICE won't do it. That's why she's suing, not just to prove a point, but to make an effort to contain what she says is an aggressive, rare, and drug-resistant form of tuberculosis with high mortality rates. Raise your hand if you're totally cool with someone with that walking around your community because of an open border. Here's the lawsuit in case you want to read it. And I've also linked you to it in the newsletter today, or you can just search up this case number if you want to pause or do a screenshot. Now, notice that other named defendants in this case include ICE, the CDC, the National Center for HIV, Viral Hepatitis, STD, and TB Prevention. So none of those organizations are helping. They're not that concerned, really. So concerned about COVID, but this TB, which she says is highly fatal, antibiotic resistant, they're not helping. So here's the timeline of what she says happened on finding this patient. She says October 9th, they learned that this person had a rare and drug-resistant form of TB. October 15th, the AG has a call with ICE and demands that ICE not release anyone else who was exposed to this patient without first having a medical clearing from the Department of Health. ICE refused. Why? Because they just need to shove more people in there? What's the purpose of saying, no, gotta let them go? Why? October 16th, they file a suit for a restraining order to stop them from doing that. October 17th, the court gives them that restraining order, and sets a hearing for today. It was supposed to be, but now that's been delayed till October 31st. So presumably that patient is still in custody, and so are 200 other detainees. And if they weren't sick before, they have a higher chance of getting sick now because they'll get more of a viral load unless that person is contained. We don't know. And as for this person being Chinese, well, it doesn't really matter what nationality he is if he's a carrier of a biological disease that could spread. But it is worth asking, because Clayton's been saying this for months, why are Chinese people coming across the southern border? How'd they get there?
Military-age men, by the way, with no families.
Yes, we're actually going to see. It's adult single men is mostly the problem. But here is what AG put forward on Twitter. Why is no one asking this? Why and how are Chinese nationals arriving at the southern border? China is not south of the United States. How'd they get there? And again, Clayton can take a victory lap on this because he's been warning about Chinese people crossing the border for months. Why?
60 Minutes finally did a whole deep dive on it. So I was a conspiracy theorist. What has Redacted ever said that's come true? How about most of it?
Yeah,
Here
well,
once again.
Yeah, maybe you want to screen people before they come across borders. Maybe you want to just do basic screening, that kind of thing. Now, in other news about ICE and migrants, this is outrageous. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skermetti had to sue ICE to get them to not release thousands of what he says single adult immigration detainees into Tennessee, many of whom had criminal convictions. In this lawsuit, he forced ICE to give over 300 pages of emails that showed that ICE and charity groups are coordinating and planning to release non-citizens, just like sprinkling salt around these communities. Here are just a few of these documents. This one is from ICE officers planning to release migrants into Nashville. Did the residents of Nashville say this was cool? No. they're just doing it. This is ICE to ICE. This is field office to home office. Here's another one. Take a look at this from the mayor's office in Nashville, asking ICE how many people to expect. Notice they don't give a limit here. This is from the mayor's office saying, okay, well, we're going to get these asylum seekers. How many do you think? Don't you think that maybe a city would give a limit? No, it's unlimited. What should we do? Where are we going to put them? Here's another one from a charity organization, says that this location has agreed to take busloads of 50 at a time for at least 3 weeks because a majority of those present at a meeting decided that. So question, why are charities deciding for the people who live in those communities? Shouldn't the residents get a say? No, it's ICE working with either local officials and charities. The people don't get any say at all. The only say that they got was through their attorney general, who said, no, sir. In fact, the lawsuit made ICE abandon this plan, but this doesn't mean that those people went away. These people existed in detention centers in Louisiana. They just didn't get to come to Tennessee. So Louisiana still has them, presumably being exposed to tuberculosis now. So where are they? What happened to them? Here's what the AG says about this. Not only was this a coordination between ICE, Nashville city officials, and a Tennessee immigration nonprofit. Again, why do they have that power? That they were going to release thousands of single adult non-citizen detainees, and that many of them had violent criminal records, including murder, rape, and kidnapping. So maybe ICE should not be working with nonprofits. Maybe you don't want these nonprofits having a say in what happens in your city. Maybe someone wants to stop that. Now, also this week, NBC reported that the Department of Homeland Security has identified more than 600 migrants in the U.S. who may have connections to a notorious Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua. They say that some of them could be victims, witnesses, or family members, but they know that at least 600 of them are connected and are on this watch list, and that this gang is in at least 15 states, possibly 8 more than that. Okay, you're watching them, but let's recall what ICE told us recently they do when they know of non-citizen criminals. They don't do anything. They know about them, and that's about it. Remember this document where ICE admitted that even though they know about illegal immigrant criminals, they mostly have to let them go. They gave us this chart, which we showed you in many iterations. It showed that of over 600,000 criminals, including murderers, kidnappers, and rapists, 97% of them are not detained. So that's nice that they're watching an extra 600, but we know that they have a 2% chance of being detained. So watch them all you want. Does that make us safer?
Terry Newsom up there in Chicago, a friend of the show, Terry Newsom, who hosts the is it the Behind Enemy Lines or Behind the Lines podcast, or what is it on this? I forget the name of the show. Anyway, Terry sent this to me just the other day, and he said the new Chicago PD FOIA requests show hundreds of Tren de Aragua crimes throughout Chicago. Only through FOIA requests are they getting this information out to the public. So all of these illegal, violent Venezuelan gangs with first-degree murders are in 3 first-degree murders in these FOIA requests in Chicago.
Yeah.
Thanks, Terry, for sending that over.
So, again, it seems like, attorney generals, they're elected officials. They're on the ballot. So they're going to do things that they think will help them to continue to be elected. So it absolutely matters if your attorney general sees things like this, like, hey, maybe it's not so great to release criminals or people with infectious diseases that we have no cure for into our communities. So who you elect in this matter absolutely matters.